Alright, so there's like a bazillion things to start with. So like you see the deck there on the right, and typically, like I said, it's really good in this meta because there's a lot of aggro matchups, and Rogue generally does good against aggro. This particular matchup is kind of lame because it's a hand lock spoiler. I anticipate this as well because typically legend players are more prone to play hand lock, um, and also because like the number of cards he mulliganed. Normally, I would mulligan away that whole hand that you just saw, but I end up keeping the sap because I anticipate that it's hand lock. Normally, there though, like if it's Zoo, the cards I'm looking for are like Shade of Naxxramas. I keep for everything going first because it's just a really solid drop on turn 3. Otherwise, I'm looking for basically Deadly Poison, Backstab. Although this is like the one matchup I don't want Backstab in. If it's Hunter, I'll often keep uh, Fan of Knives because of the large amount of 1/1 minions, and it's just super, super efficient and gives you a huge draw, and it can be used pretty well in turn 3 or 4. I don't keep Blade Flurry unless I have Deadly Poison, although that's pretty obvious. Um, Something else to keep in mind about this deck is you don't need Gadget's End to win, you don't need Malygos to win. This isn't your Leroy Miracle deck that you're used to in the past. Like if you played Leroy Miracle from before, you were used to setting up a combo where you draw a whole bunch of cards and you get your combo and you burst them down at the very end. This is going to be a deck that keeps up constant pressure constantly on your opponent, no matter what the matchup is, and you don't need to win in one swooping combo. You can just constantly berate your opponent. Also, the other big reason I like this deck is as you look at right now, I have like a lot of decisions I can make. Like in this particular instance, I can clear the board using like Backstab Eviscerate, or I can make a large Leroy, which is the decision that I end up making to contest my opponent. And making these decisions is really matchup dependent. And if you have questions later on about like a specific matchup when you try this deck, I'll also be more than willing to answer them. I can't go over every single one, but like every position, like it depends on how many silences you think your opponents run, and just like a number of things, different types of removal. If you sometimes developing like if they have a minion out and it's a warrior, typically I don't develop a giant Leroy because I'm scared of shield slam shield block or execute combos. But if I'm versing something like a druid, I'm pretty open to that because normally druid gets rid of Keeper of the Grove, which is their only silence, and they don't have a great way to deal with big Leroys. Some other stuff to keep in mind is like it's all I can say over and over again is it's not Miracle Rogue. You can be like super liberal with saps. Saps are like often with Miracle Rogue, like you need to save a sap just in case they had a big minion that was blocking your Leroy at the end. Whereas we don't really. I mean, if there's a big minion, yeah, sap is great. That makes it awesome. But it's okay to sap like. Say you're versing Zoo, and there's just a ton of damage on board. It's okay to sap, a medium-sized minion like a Harvest Golem or something, just to delay the game, so you can establish a board clear. You don't need to save it for that big bursty combo at the end, because you're just going to put up constant sustained pressure. Another thing to keep in mind is that you always want to like kind of just like as a general rule, you want to develop minions before you cast spells. I mean, that's not always like 1,000%, but like as a good rule of thumb, you should ask yourself, okay, can I effectively develop, this Azure Drake or this SI7 agent? Because they're really clunky. Like your spells are super cheap. It's really easy to do some sweet like prep, fan, eviscerate, backstab, whatever combo, but it's really hard when you say, okay, do that, but now you have like 2 mana left in an SI7 agent or something. So whenever you think you can establish them, It's always good to do that because they have like something to keep in mind is like your minions have a fixed amount of damage they can do. Like it's SI7 agent is always gonna be able to combo 2 and always gonna be a 3/3 for 3. Whereas like your Sinister Strike or your Eviscerate or whatever, your backstab, like your backstab's, initially 2 damage, but then you drop Malygos and now it's 7 damage. So you don't always need to like get rid of it immediately, if that makes any sense. It's just something you need to constantly keep in mind. So, if we look down at this particular game, this is, like I said before, this is a rough matchup, just like it was for Miracle in the past, just because of the large number of minions you have to get through. But the one advantage that this deck has is, like, we don't care about the taunts. It doesn't matter. We have, like, super high burst at the end. And something to keep in mind is, okay, how much damage do I have in my hand? And how much damage do I think I'm going to have to deal with? And constantly keeping track of certain cards that your opponent has is really important. Like when I just saw that mountain giant disappear, I just went, yes! Like my whole, I was just like, this best moment ever. We actually have a chance to win this game. Because now he's gotten rid of a whole bunch of cards. I'm going to sap this mountain giant. It's going to be super inefficient for him to drop it because he has so few cards in his hand. I can just keep the pressure on. But winning this game is still going to be tough. Like, look at, I don't have that much damage. He's still got plenty of health. How do I get the damage to go through to his face? Now, I know in my deck I still have, at this point, I still have Malygos and 2 Gadget Sands. And if I draw either one, or any one of those 3 cards, it results in like this huge combo. So I'm praying to God I draw one of them, because it's just a ridiculous amount of damage. Like Malygos plus prep plus one of your AoEs is like tons of damage. It's like 6 damage AoE to everything with Blade Flurry. It puts damage through to the face as well. So here I develop my weapon. I save my spells, hoping to draw into a Gadget Zan combo or a Malygos combo, like I said before. I end up sticking the weapon damage through, because I think if I draw Malygos, I have enough burst right then and there to prep Fan to go through and win the game. And if I draw Gadget Zan, I have enough to just draw into endless possibilities. And I believe I have 2 Sinister Strikes left too, so there's a ton of reach in the deck left, and I'm kind of playing for that. When I see the heal, I cry a little bit, and when I see this unstable ghoul come down, my brain just goes, wait, what? I thought I was versing Handlock, and I was just like, completely confused. So now I draw a Conceal, which is literally the worst card in the deck, and the question becomes what to do now. Now I can clear board still if I want, but it'll leave me with like a 3/1 SI7 agent, and not much else, and it'll leave me with a Conceal in hand, which means I'm drawing to almost nothing. So the only way I can win the game here is if I Conceal and then hope to draw a Gadget Zan or a Malygos. Because if I clear the board, it wouldn't do anything. And that's just kind of a bummer. Because he can still develop a large amount of minions. And I see this go down, and I cry a little bit. But then I see him Shadow Flame, and I cry a little bit more. So now the question becomes, can I win this game? Is this game still winnable? Aren't exactly a lot of plays I can do. So, pretty sad. And I believe this turn I end up just straight up passing and hoping to God to draw into one of those 3 cards. Because I still do have a lot of reach. Like if I draw into Gadget Zan, I can draw 3 cards, and I still have 2 Sinister Strikes left, which is insane. But luckily this game was relatively decent, and you get to see what Malygos can actually do. And the board just explodes, which is the best feeling in the entire world. And now, poor Mr. Warlock has to figure out what to do while he's on the defensive. and if he doesn't heal, it's pretty much GG no matter what, because I'm just going to play whatever I draw, and then Eviscerate combo. And I believe this was his last turn. I think so. I don't remember what he did this turn. Oh yeah. Okay, so he ends up taunting up. Hopefully this was a relatively entertaining game to watch. And I hope I gave you everyone something to think about. But if you have any questions about the deck, feel free to post them to me on Twitter, or my Twitter's @FearYouGaming, or post them on Reddit or YouTube, and I'll find you sooner or later. I'm gonna probably go to sleep, so I won't get back for like another 12 hours, but take care, guys. It was fun.